Divination and reading the unseen, from tarot to alchemy. Divination is one of the most ancient and controversial practices in human history. Often misunderstood, mocked, or feared, divination refers to the process of accessing unseen information through symbols, patterns, and energetic resonance. From the earliest shamans to modern spiritual practitioners, people have sought insight from sources beyond the five senses. But what's important to understand is that divination is not superstition. It is a structured system of interpreting energy, rooted in specific cosmologies, and often confirmed through repeated accuracy across generations. The word divination comes from the Latin divinare, meaning to foresee, to be inspired by a god. It implies that the practitioner is not making up random meanings, but tapping into a higher field of information, a divine intelligence. Every ancient civilization had its own method of divination. These methods were not treated as entertainment. They were integral to statecraft, medicine, military strategy, agriculture, and personal transformation. Let's begin with one of the most well-known systems, tarot. The tarot is a 78-card deck consisting of the major and minor arcana. The major arcana represent archetypal forces: the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, Death, the Tower, the Star. These are not mere storytelling devices. They are visual keys that encode psychological, spiritual, and energetic states. The minor arcana mirror the four elements: earth, air, fire, water, and correspond to coins, swords, wands, and cups. Each suit explores different aspects of the human experience: money, thought, action, emotion. The origins of tarot are debated. While some scholars claim the cards evolved from 15th century playing decks in Italy, others point to Egyptian or Hermetic sources, including the Book of Thoth. What matters more than origin is function. The cards are not magic in themselves. They function as a visual language that the subconscious mind and higher consciousness use to communicate. Skilled readers are not predicting a fixed future. They are decoding the present energetic field and projecting likely outcomes if current patterns continue. Then we have astrology, a system that maps the positions and movements of celestial bodies to interpret human and earthly events. This is not fortune-telling. It is based on observable planetary cycles, mathematical alignments, and archetypal resonance. Astrology operates on the principle of as above, so below, that the macrocosm of the heavens reflects and influences the microcosm of individual experience. Natal charts, maps of the sky at one's birth, are read to determine core energies, life paths, emotional tendencies, and karmic lessons. While astrology is often dismissed by skeptics, it has a rich historical foundation. It was practiced in Babylon, Egypt, Greece, India, and China. In the Middle Ages, astrology was taught in European universities alongside astronomy. Even the founding of Washington, D.C. was aligned astrologically by Freemasonic architects. Many world leaders, including Ronald Reagan and Queen Elizabeth I, employed astrologers. The modern argument that astrology lacks scientific basis ignores the fact that it was once the science, until modern materialism narrowed the definition of what counts as legitimate knowledge. Next is numerology, the study of numbers as energetic signatures. Numbers are not just quantities, they are symbols with vibrational meaning. The number 1 represents origin, will, singularity. The number 2 represents polarity, reflection, duality. The number 7 represents mystery, initiation, and the spiritual seeker. These meanings are not arbitrary. They reflect universal patterns found in sacred geometry, music, myth, and even DNA. Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher and mathematician, taught that numbers are the building blocks of reality. He founded a mystery school that used numbers not only for calculation, but for spiritual initiation. Each number was linked to a tone, a color, a planet, and a character archetype. In Kabbalah, the mystical system of Jewish esotericism, numerology is central to understanding divine structure. Each Hebrew letter has a numeric value, and entire scriptures are interpreted through these coded relationships. Another ancient system is rune casting, a divinatory practice from the Norse and Germanic traditions. Runes are symbols carved into stones, wood, or bone. Each rune represents not just a letter or sound, but a cosmic principle, such as journey, protection, disruption, or rebirth. Runes were often consulted by seers, warriors, and village leaders to make decisions about war, travel, weather, and fate. The practice was banned by the Christian Church during the conquest of Northern Europe because it was seen as sorcery, though it had been an integral part of community governance and spiritual life for centuries. Pendulum dowsing is another form of divination that uses physical movement to reflect subtle energy. A pendulum, a weighted object on a chain, is held over a surface and asked questions. Its movement, clockwise, counterclockwise, back and forth, is interpreted to receive yes-no answers. Critics call this random motion or ideomotor effect, but many trained energy workers know that the pendulum responds not to the conscious mind, but to the subconscious and energetic field. In skilled hands, it becomes a mirror to the inner truth. Scrying, a method that involves gazing into a reflective surface like a mirror, bowl of water, or crystal ball, is also deeply ancient. The goal is not to see literal images, but to enter an altered state of consciousness in which symbolic or intuitive impressions arise. Scrying has been used in Egyptian priesthoods, Greek oracles, and medieval mysticism. The famous Elizabethan magician John Dee used a black obsidian mirror to receive messages from what he believed were angelic intelligences, messages that would later influence secret societies like the Rosicrucians and Freemasons. Then there's alchemy, often misunderstood as an early attempt to turn lead into gold. In truth, alchemy is both a material and spiritual science. It was practiced in ancient Egypt, Islamic civilization, medieval Europe, and beyond. The outer goal was to purify matter. The inner goal was to purify the soul. The base metals were symbols for base instincts. The gold was a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment. The philosopher's stone was not a literal object, but a state of being, the integrated self. Alchemy used symbolic language to protect its teachings from persecution. Terms like sublimation, conjunction, and calcination had both physical and psychological meanings. Modern Jungian psychology owes much to alchemical symbols, which Carl Jung recognized as expressions of the psyche's transformation. Alchemy is a divinatory path, not because it tells the future, but because it reveals the stages of inner evolution that one must undergo to reach true selfhood. Across all of these systems, tarot, astrology, numerology, runes, pendulums, scrying, alchemy, there is a shared foundation: the belief that there is an underlying order to reality, and that humans, when properly trained, can read the signs. This is not irrational. It is meta-rational, a form of knowing that transcends linear logic while still obeying internal structure. So why has divination been so demonized? There are three primary reasons: control of interpretation, control of timing, and control of access. First, interpretation. If the average person can receive intuitive or symbolic insight from spirit, they no longer rely on a priest, a pastor, or a government spokesperson to tell them what to believe. Divination decentralizes authority. Second, timing. Divination often reveals not just what will happen, but when. This threatens systems that depend on emotional reaction rather than spiritual preparation. If you can see what's coming, you cannot be manipulated into fear. Third, access. Divination grants direct access to the inner world and the cosmic field. No institution can profit off of your intuition. If you learn to read signs, patterns, and energy without an app, a priest, or a psychiatrist, you are sovereign. That makes you ungovernable. This is why divination is often labeled evil, demonic, or delusional. Not because it is false, but because it bypasses institutional mediation. And yet, while the masses are warned against fortune-telling, elites, rulers, and intelligence agencies use their own versions of divination behind closed doors. Think tanks use predictive analytics. Military leaders use remote viewing. CEOs use astrologers before billion-dollar decisions. The power has never disappeared. It has simply been relabeled for public consumption. To practice divination responsibly requires more than curiosity. It requires discipline, discernment, and ethical grounding. One must know the system, protect the channel, and respect the information. Divination is not about control. It is about communication. The best readers do not impose meanings. They listen to the field and reflect what is already present. The goal is not prediction, it is empowerment. In the end, divination is not about tools. It is about attunement. You are the receiver. The cards, stars, numbers, and symbols are mirrors for what you already know, but have not yet remembered. And in a world where perception is hijacked, memory is erased, and intuition is ridiculed, reclaiming your sight is a revolutionary act. Divination is not a superstition. It is a skill set. And now, it is yours. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas. 11 times published author and School of Soul has just released one of our most requested deep dives, the Magic and Occult series. This series is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who know there's more going on beneath the surface, behind the media, behind the family, behind the system. This series breaks the spell and hands you the map. The Magic and Occult series includes over 200 videos on 1. Entertainment or ritual. Decoding mainstream media as mass spellwork. 2. Occult families. Spot them. How generational magic and ritual lineage hides in plain sight. 3. Occult symbolism. The signs, seals, and signals used to claim, curse, or command. 4. Esoteric symbolism. Layered meaning, sacred geometry, and encoded messages. 5. Law is magic. How contracts, courts, and language are rituals of power. 6. Spells and spirits. What magic really is, and what happens when you use it. 7. Covens and lodges. Where modern ritual happens, and who's involved. 8. Destiny swapping. How rituals steal timelines, talent, or soul contracts. 9. Energy harvesting. Spiritual parasitism, and how to seal your field. 10. The clairs. Your intuitive senses. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and more. 11. Become magical. How to strengthen your gifts, protect your mind, and wield conscious force. 12. Miracles are real. Divine intervention, faith portals, and supernatural reversals. 13. The chosen ones, what sets them apart and why they're always targeted. 14. The black sheep, the generational breaker, often isolated by design. 15. Targeted individuals, spiritual and technological targeting of aware souls. 16. Gang stalking, organized spiritual and psychological warfare. This is the most revealing, most spiritually advanced, and most protective series SOS has ever released. If you've ever felt something was off about this world, this will confirm it and prepare you for what comes next. Your protection begins with knowledge. Join the SOS School of Sos Vault.